Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this, your Aquarius December 2022 reading and forecast. Hi, I'm Nigel Saint James, clairvoyant, and I've done a number of one-on-one clairvoyant readings for Aquarians over the course of the last month over FaceTime and Skype from different parts of the world. And if you choose to find out more about what's involved, just have a look at the information that's in the description. Have a look at the website anyway. I think you'll find there's plenty of stuff in there that will interest you with your fine inquiring mind. Now we're going to take 5 cards from a deck called the Thoth deck, which I'm sure you will have heard of. Thoth is the ancient Egyptian god of wisdom. It was painted by a woman called Lady Frida Harris in the 1900s, the early 1900s. She was called Lady Frida Harris because she was married to a British politician who was elevated to the House of Lords, and he became Lord Harris, and therefore she became Lady Harris. Now, we're going to take these 5 cards, as I say. She did provide within the paintings of the cards a lot of, there's the Queen of Discs, occult imagery. Occult in a sense of hidden. That is usually known only to initiates as to what the meanings are. Not in a sense of black magic or anything like that. I could tell you about black magic another time if you'd like, but there's the Magus. But and I suppose most readers aren't aware of the occult meanings of the imagery which she employs. And so what we do here is we're going to take a deeper level of thing rather than just... But of course it always depends also on where the cards are placed and how they interact with each other and what the elemental energies are and where they're placed in the spread. There's the Fool. Gee, great card there, the Fool. I love that card. The stacks of imagery on that which we can talk about. There's the Hierophant. You are going to be very interested in this, I can see. And there is the Knight of Cups. Well, why don't you come now, sit down here next to me. We'll have a good close look at the imagery on these cards together while I do the reading for you. Sometimes you just have to believe in yourself. There's a good chance that all you've ever been told or made to feel in your life so far is that you can't do anything. That every time you even dared to dream that your life could be better, you were shot down or laughed at. Made to feel small, made to feel useless, made to feel like an idiot for even thinking that you could be more. All of us, just as we thought something was in reach, have had a massive shadow of doubt thrown on us, normally by someone who is close to us. It hurts, doesn't it? And then you've thought of all the pain to get what you want, and your brain avoids it. Well, these cards show you that your brain is going to change and you are going to move forward this month. Let's look first then at the Queen of Discs. You drew her first. So let's look at some of the symbology that's on this quite ornate deck. Here she is. She's sitting down here. Now getting a lot of Capricorn around here and a lot of Sagittarius. Which means, I think, that you will be ambitious, which you're going to get from Sagittarius, but only in useful directions, which is Capricorn, and you'll work with instinct and intuition rather than with your intellect. Now, I know you have a fine intellect, but this is the time when I think that you might just be quite quiet and hard-working, practical and sensible. Now, let's have a look at the symbology on there. Now, there is a goat standing on a... Well, here's a Capricorn thing here, I guess. Here's a goat standing on a golden globe, or the sun in Capricorn. And I'd say that that is the zodiacal attribution of this card, the sun in Capricorn. And that indicates the strong Capricorn influence in this card and the qualities that are represented by this sign, such as practical, which is good because we're here in the suit of earth. Reserved, maybe serious, certainly pragmatic, practical rather than theoretical and down to earth, focused, and as you always are, courteous. Now, the horns of this goat are long, aren't they? So that means that He is of age and experience, and they also represent his virility and drive to achieve. Now, there are also horns on the helmet worn by the Queen. These horns are from the Markhor goat, which is a wild goat found in the mountainous regions of Afghanistan. Assuming, of course, they haven't all been blown to smithereens due to recent conflicts. Now, as the goat occupies mountainous high regions, this is a symbol for your increased vision and perception, just as she has. And it shows the clarity of purpose and journey through life. Now, her reptilian armor that's there, that speaks of growth and renewal. This wand in her right hand, that's crowned with a hexagram inside a cube. Well, the hexagram is a six-sided thing. And that has an association for me with the sun. It also has an association with Christ consciousness, with Vishnu consciousness, or with Krishna consciousness as well. And the cube inside, well, that speaks of the earth. So this wand represents the fertility of earth through the sun, which I have an association with in 6, and her ability to manifest her goals, achieving inner growth. Really, this signifies your ability to focus and produce things which are practical and useful. Again, like the quality of Capricorn. Now, the orb in her left hand, that you see it in there, there's actually, look at it in here, there's 13 circles inside there. Well, I think that this has an association, this globe has an association for me with these circles and the color of the globe, both with the sun and with the moon. She completes her goals in an emotionally balanced way, and her goals are important to her and to you emotionally. And she nurtures her talents and those around her. The moon, when she is putting out energy. The sun. The fact that it is a big orb means that she has already completed this journey and this integration, and is now a strong aspect of her personality and success. And if we look at the background here, you're probably wondering what this is. That's a desert. She's looking back at where she's been. Now, the desert has a river running through it, and this represents her difficult journey with many barren periods, which I think you could probably relate to. But the river signifies that there has always been a spiritual force guiding you. So I think that this is a time during which you will be practical, compassionate, and you'll have a nurturing attitude towards others and your own circumstances. And it's also a time, I do think, where you should be considering to go with the, let me just turn that light up a bit for you, to go with the flow. Now, she also represents health and diet, and so you need to take some care of your physical ability. And go forward quietly without an overt attack on any existing institutions at the moment. I think you've passed through an arid stretch on your journey, and now you've arrived in more fruitful surroundings. Now you can rest and devote some attention to yourself, to your physical needs, and ask yourself, in what ways have you neglected your body, your outer self? And God forbid, do you indulge yourself too much, too often? Devote more attention to your health and physical beauty this month. And say this to yourself, though. I give my body the gift of loving attention. It gives me the gift of life energy, joy in living, and health. Let's have a look to see what's underneath it. And we shall, which is what? A Hierophant. Nothing like watching professionals at work, is there? Let's have a look. Let's have a look here. Well, this is ruled by Taurus, and this is the word val, which in Hebrew, which means nail, and you'll see 9 nails that are associated here. Now there's 9. I have associated with the number 9 the moon, and the moon happens to be exalted in Taurus, as it so happens. These things on the edge here, these are the the cherubim or the fixed signs of the zodiac. Here you are here. This is the Aquarius, fixed sign of air, fixed sign of fire being Leo, fixed sign of earth being Taurus, fixed sign of air being Scorpio in its exalted form. The Hierophant really connects out through this window. These nails are nailing the window to this dark background, which is negative existence, and I'll come to that with the Fool as well. The 9 nails there have a snake and a dove around the window as well. And this dove is about peace, and the snake is about fertility and regeneration. There is a shape of a rose in the window, and that says to me that it is love which is important to anything. His throne is that of a bull, as you would expect in the card of Taurus. This figure here is that of Venus. Venus is a planet that rules Taurus. There's a sword that she's holding there, which frankly I think is probably phallic. This geometrical figures, I won't go into the sacred geometry of it for time's sake. And we have here a small child. You can make of that what you would. Some people say it's Horus. Some people say it's the Christ. Some people say it's a young Krishna. Some people say it's... Anyway, it goes on. And here in the wand here are the 3, almost like a trinity, I suppose. And the trinity could be that of the Christian trinity or the Hindu trinity. And of course, wise. Now those 4 elements, the fixed signs of air, fire, earth, and water, the Hierophant has united all of these elements in himself and has brought them to full expression. He is the awakened one, the fulfilled and the enlightened. He's the true spiritual master who acts as the intermediary between the human and the divine. He is the spirit made flesh, or the final stage of human development in which the human is united with God. In any event, what we can see here also is the representation of the balance of nature of the male and female principle, the joining of which does produce a child here. The rose petals, another way of looking at the rose petals here, I suppose, is to say that they're symbolic of love in its purest, most perfect form. This is the love which can see the other and give what is really needed at the moment. Now, it may not always be something that the other wants or wishes. A true master doesn't fulfill the disciples' wishes. Truth is a provocation which can shake us out of the heavy, sweet sleep of unconsciousness. Only those who are free of self-seeking motivation can wield the truth in this way, almost like Jesus whipping the moneylenders out of the temple in the New Testament stories. Now, I think you'll be very gifted at imparting and receiving inspiration. You'll be inspiring other people at this time, and you'll become quite committed to the concept of community with other people. You'll be very attracted to sounds, to music, very good at listening and speaking, and you're going to want to make your ideas tangible. You'll have a great desire to be challenged by new experiences here. You may also really want to think about teaching yourself in some way. You might be considering putting forward, for example, a YouTube thing, dealing with a hobby that you have. And it's possible also that you may have a desire for spirituality, and developing spirituality forward. But remember, there is only one voice worth listening to, and that is the voice of your own heart. Right, well, let's move it along, shall we, and deal with we'll deal with this first, because this follows it in order in the actual deck itself, doesn't it? That light there you go. Now, what a lot of imagery in here. I'm not going to get to all of it, because we just don't have time, sadly. First of all, here is the sign for air. This is a Hebrew letter meaning Aleph. Now, Aleph is a Hebrew letter which is not, it's not expressed unless it's put with another letter, so it's silent. The astrological, and breath and air is silent as well, isn't it? The astrological association for me is Uranus, which is breakthrough, innovation, lightening insight, inventions, original, sudden awareness. I think you'll have genius, and you'll be looking for things that are unusual. It's almost as if you're going to be a bit of a rebel, I think, during this period here. He is himself the green man, the mysterious energy giving birth to a new life in the spring. And this can represent new life being reborn in your spiritual path. Now he's making a leap. This is a leap into the world. This is the first card. He's coming literally from out of the Garden of Eden, you might say, from spirit into the duality of space and time. So from unity in spirit into the duality of form in space and time. But he's doing it with enthusiasm. It's a yes to life, and it's the beginning of the connection to spirit, even though he might only have an intuition of it at this stage. The diamond crown he has reminds him that he is from spirit, and there is a rainbow around the outside of him here, which is the colored universe of form arising out of the purity and formlessness of spirit. The background is yellow with white diamonds. Yellow is the color of air with the reflection of the divine being the white diamonds. And the fool's skin is yellow, representing air. His green clothing is earth, creativity. His gold shoes are the color of the sun and the creative light of life. That's an association with Christ consciousness and Krishna and Vishnu consciousness there as well, I think. The sun over his genitals is interesting. Why would that be like that? Well, this is because it's the creative potential of the genitals where human consciousness usually resides. This needs to be raised to the purity of this diamond at his crown chakra. And these three spirals which come around the Fool, without going into it, they are the three veils of negative existence. They contain, the first one has a dove for peace, a vulture, speaking of mother, a butterfly, speaking of air. And there are other things going on. Without getting into all of them, this crocodile here speaks of in the ancient days, the Egyptians thought that a crocodile just spontaneously gave rise to eggs because they couldn't work out the gender of crocodiles as to what was male or female. So it's about original life just spurring out. A bag of coins here, grapes, shows a great wealth coming to you, and here as is this flaming pine cone that's there, purity in your life by this rose and these two lilies. Here are the reeds coming out of the Nile River where the crocodile resides. And this tiger is interesting. This is the tiger of fear. It's attempting to bite the Fool, but note, the Fool has no interest in it whatsoever and walks on without fear, as you shall do. So this is speaking to me, looking at that imagery that is there, of you having an openness about you, a trust, a ready to take a risk, and the courage to stand your ground, the desire for freedom, independence. You'll have creativity and the great potential to achieve things. There's a possibility of, like him, making a quantum leap, and certainly you'll be listening to your heart's voice. You'll be in the present. This is also talking of new beginnings, a leap of faith perhaps, and acting without malice. Maybe there's a bit of eccentricity around here in relation to some of the things that you do. Nothing wrong with that, because arguably I'm a bit eccentric myself. Now, I think that you are ready for a new beginning, and it is going to happen. Even that quantum leap. Give in, dare to leap, even if fear attempts to hold you back. Trust the voice from within your heart. Actually, what is the tiger of fear for you? How do you imagine the courageous leap into the new? What does it look like? Where does your heart call you to go? Say to yourself, I now follow my heart. I am open and ready to go wherever it may lead me. I am a radiant being. I am a living treasure. I honor and value the unlimited resource of courage which is within me. I respect the nature of whom I am. I am precious and valued, and I have nothing to fear. Now we'll turn to the Magus, which is saying that, well, you haven't worked that out, that you do have nothing to fear. This is now saying that you have everything at your disposal to do so. Now the Magus too is androgynous, even though it's always spoken of as a he, and there's obviously a penis in there. But nevertheless, let's have a look at some of the imagery. He's juggling 8 objects. They are the objects of, well, first of all, Bet is the Hebrew letter here, which means house. And there is an association with the planet Mercury, which I happen to agree with. Now he's juggling 8 objects which represent coins, earth, sword, air, cup, water, and a fire thing here for fire, obviously. Now there's an Orphic egg there, which is which holds the potential for all of creation. There's also being juggled a wand of power that they used to use in the Egyptian days, a papyrus, and a stylus, or what we today call a pen. There's a big thing going up around the back of him which holds this big caduceus. A caduceus is generally associated with Mercury, which is here, of course. The snakes here show the infinity symbol. And what's important also is that here is the light of the divine coming through. You know how we were talking about here, these 3 veils of negative existence? Well, here we have, from the other side of negative existence, the light of the divine, although it is beyond this existence, also coming into existence. These lines going everywhere relate to creation, but note that they don't go into this period here. So what is created does not go into this area. It remains separate to it. You might just make out the sun coming through there. So with the sun and this Orphic egg, we have the potential for life and also the explosion of life itself. This ape down here is, well, you could say it's a companion to this is the Thoth deck, and the ape was a companion to the god Thoth, the god of wisdom in ancient Egyptian times. Or it could also mean that information can or may not be true, depending on who is saying it. So I think that what you will have in front of you during this period is great ability to communicate here. Playful dealings with all possible forms of communication, a flexibility, a brilliance about you. There's action, power, manifestation of ideas and desires. Willpower. I think you might be something of a smooth talker here. And I think you'll be dealing with the ideas of maybe some sort of self-employment or other. Yeah. Now what's another aspect of this that's important to me, because I am the way that I am, is that this Magus cannot fulfill his tasks. This is saying that you have everything that you need in front of you. That's what these objects also represent. Incidentally, I've just looked at it now. This 8-pointed star, 8 is a numerical, mystical reference to Mercury as well for me. But this Magus can't fulfill his tasks without constantly remaining in touch with the spiritual forces of the universe. He's always in the service of a superior law. Now, when he recognizes and accepts this as his true function, he bears clarifying light into the darkness of ignorance and misunderstanding. But you have at your disposal brilliant capabilities which you should share with other people. One important task is to, I think at the moment, to find or create the proper surroundings for your activities. In what areas lie your talents? Concentrate on them. With what methods and in what surroundings can you pass them on or share them? Visualize your ideal area of activity. Describe it to yourself. Write it down in one sentence. Say this to yourself. I create magic when I use my inherent gifts and talents. I honor the resources of skilled communication which are within me. The full expression of my creative potential fulfills me and makes me happy and satisfied. And then finally we get to this. Oh, here comes trouble. The Knight of Cups. Okay. Now, it's going to have an attachment to you, because I'm getting the feeling of Aquarius with it. So it's somebody attaching itself to you, possibly a Pisces. But let's have a look at the imagery. First of all, it's one of the knights. Now notice that the knight's riding a white horse for purity, and he has the green colour here for fertility. And notice that he's not wearing a helmet though. Wouldn't you expect a knight to be wearing a helmet? Well, he's not wearing a helmet. He's not wearing a helmet because he's not interested in doing a battle. He's also not interested in hanging around for long enough to make a commitment towards a battle. Now he's holding outstretched a chalice out of which there is a crab, and obviously that's an association with Cancer, which means that this is a period where you need to have and will have not only a connection with family, but that sense of family should be extended, I think, to include other people with whom you have personal relationships with of a deep nature. Now there's a peacock here. He's leaping over it. Peacock in the west is a sign of vanity and ego. In the east, it's a sign of wisdom and enlightenment. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he is capable of getting some spiritual achievement. These blue wings here, they have an association with Venus for me, which say that he's very loving and tender. But what I will say about him is this, is that, well, for you, I think it's time for you to surrender to your beloved ones, because you have a great capacity for giving and for reaching higher emotional planes and spiritual relationships. He, however, is a man who has commitment issues, amiable but passive, gets very attracted to excitement, unsustainable enthusiasm, someone who's very sensitive but deep down is actually very shallow. And actually, if you look at his background, it's almost like an unbroken record of failure, because he doesn't want to hang around or put in the effort to do things. He rather talk his way out of responsibility than step up to responsibility. I think that you yearn for intensive interchange with those of like mind and like outlook to you at the moment. How can the interchange in your relationships be enriched? Seek your true family, the community in which you feel at home. There you will find the quality of communication you long for. And say this to yourself: I am now finding the contact that I want and need. Well, he can be very attractive to the opposite sex, this guy, and the opposite sex loves him. Gays and lesbians make the necessary adjustment. Good for you. Well, I'm sure you'll agree with me that this is a very, very interesting deck, isn't it? The Thoth deck, and it provides an unusual sort of a reading, different to the types that you might see before. Certainly the imagery is unlike anything that you see in other decks. But anyway, next time, of course, we will be using another deck, because I do change them each month, as you know. So, until I see you again, remember one thing, and one thing is this, and it is that you are a legend. And I look forward to seeing you again next month. And until then, it's bye for now.